Let's talk about what's happening in the entire retail segment, because we just got updates from V-Mart as well as Avenue Supermarts overnight and did not look like a very impressive set. And of course, we have been talking about how the end of season sales started earlier. The retailers are struggling a bit, but let's discuss all of that with Mr. Kumar Rajagopalan, the CEO at Retailers Association of India, and Ms. Pushpa Bector, the Executive Director at DLF Retail Luxury and Shopping Malls, joining us on the show. Let me first start with you, Mr. Rajagopalan. We have seen that the end of season sales had started earlier, but how has been the pickup so far? Is there a case that the discounting would have to be deeper or the sales would have to be extended because you haven't seen the amount of footfall that you were expecting?
Yeah, I think the market is comparing itself to last year, and that's where some of these aberrations are being seen. If you look at the last year to current year footfalls, in some of the high footfall areas, the footfalls have come down by about 10% to 12%. However, the business has definitely gone up by anywhere about 7 to 9%. What's happening is that customers who are coming in with very clear intention of purchasing, and they are purchasing without too much of rush around them. The other point is, of course, in the month of April, May, and also mid-June last year, there was a frenzy for getting into the stores because customers had just got that freedom to come in and shop. Now that kind of a frenzy is not there. This is not very high sales season even otherwise, because it's not peak festivals. So we'll have to wait and watch. It's however heartening to see that the businesses have increased. It's maybe not in the double digit, but it's at least in the higher single digit numbers.
Pushpa, talk to us about, from your vantage point, at least the area you're operating in on the luxury side, retail luxury. What we understand, that demand is much more stickier or agnostic of how the conditions or matters of inflation, etc., have been so far. What are your observations?
Yes, so we did notice that, of course, we operate both in the premium space as well as in the luxury space. When luxury space, typically we have seen that the stickiness is higher. We thought that last year, once the international travel begins, there should be a slight reduction in growth, but we were pleasantly surprised to see that the growth was robust. This year, we do think that it will be stable till October. We don't see it to be extremely high till October, going by what Mr. Rajagopalan is also saying, that even in luxury, it is stickier. There is growth, but the real growth vis-a-vis last year will come in from October on, when the season starts. If you recall, last year, we had a very strong wedding market and wedding season. This year, again, the wedding season is extended till June, and that's what retailers enjoyed. There will be a bit of a lull till September. Before October on, we do see that the stickiness will come right back. And yes, there has been a pre-season sale. In fact, the sale started 15 days earlier than anticipated. That I believe is more to do with inventory offloading by retailers, because they had all piled up a lot of inventory from last year. And I'm sure there will be, a little correction on that. The sales are aggressive this year, and that has brought back consumers. So I think we should not compare quarter to quarter too acutely vis-a-vis last year. In our portfolio, from last year to this year, the quarter, the growth is not in April, May, and June very aggressive, but it is still, pretty.
I'm guessing you're hinting towards a flat year-on-year kind of performance when it comes to that, right? Could you also give us a few more details in terms of how the footfalls have actually panned out? What's the trend looking like on the ground?
So, April till 15th May, if you want a defined timeline, we saw it was a bit flat, the footfall, as well as sales. 15th May on, we are seeing sales increase as well as footfall. And with the sales season being aggressive, we're seeing a lot of footfall in the malls. We saw a month-to-date growth of over 12% vis-a-vis last year because of early start of the EOSS. We are seeing 12 to 15% growth in footfalls also. But as we anticipate the months of August and September to be slightly more, static, not very high growth. and very good growth from October.
Mr. Rajagopalan, let's talk about categories then. If you could, because you are representing overall body of retailers, talk to us about the feedback you're getting from on what categories are showing higher growth and which are ones which are on the slower side.
So this is an interesting thing that's happening there, in the sense that if you look at pre-April, okay, categories that were on very high growth was including athleisure, which is leisure and athletic kind of products. Footwear had kind of picked up at some really fast pace from the month of January, and garments were kind of slack. Now, post-April, garments have picked up. Jewelry is also picked up. The sale of footwear has come to an okay stage with about 10% or so. And the athleisure part is not grown as aggressively. I think people are just taking a slight break from it for about 2 months or so. I'm sure it will go back to the higher levels because the travel is still on. People are still health conscious. However, I think the return to offices is kind of working on them slightly. The garments, therefore, is doing well because people are going back to office and they need garments for that. The jewelry, based upon whenever there are occasions, it's been doing okay. I think we will get to see the best of it from the month of August or so. As far as the sale of beauty products is concerned, it's kind of two ends is what we are seeing. We are seeing some companies which are doing very well on beauty products if they are selling products. But when it comes to services of beauty items, I think it's taken a slight lull after a fantastic March and February and March, where international travelers are also coming.
Right.
So services part of beauty is slightly
Sure.
on the defensive part currently.
Sure. Sorry, Mr. Rajagopalan, to interject, but I had a quick follow-up with respect to the inventory levels that Pushpa also was talking about. Has the inventory level now come down to a lower level, or would the retailers now look at extending the sale or even giving a discount towards the end of the season to kind of offload that inventory? What's the inventory situation like?
I think it's different for different kinds of companies.
Okay.
Some of the companies have become extremely prudent in the way they manage their inventory. They've really automated a lot during the pandemic, and they have been very, very careful on the discounts. There are also companies which were very buoyant. They've done very, very well, and they thought that maybe the trend will continue for the higher two-digit growth. Now, those companies are facing some kind of an issue, so they'll have to try and sell away their inventory. So there is a possibility that the sale may extend for, let's say, 4 weeks or 5 weeks. Normally, it's about 3 weeks. But it depends. So it's not one size fits all kind of a strategy. It's different for different players. Also, the value retail segment was growing very well till March. They've also seen a bit of a question mark if they are not into value fashion. So some of these companies have got slightly higher inventory. So it will be slightly different for different companies. Also, if some companies have not grown so well in the market, some of them did not place their on physical growth. And those are companies that are facing inventory issues. Whereas there are companies that have done very well on overall number of stores that they've increased. They don't have any inventory issues at all.
Yeah, that's exactly the question that I want to toss to Pushpa as well. Pushpa, are you seeing a big shift still towards online versus the physical shopping? And secondly, to the point that Mr. Rajagopalan was also making, what's happening to the pace of the store additions? What's been your discussion like with various brands? Are they slowing it a bit, the store additions?
No, not at all.
Okay.
In fact, we are seeing, as you know, essentially Delhi NCR, where we are chiefly operating, is a high consumption market. And in this market, we are seeing that the sales are high. And there's also a very clear indication of the fact that, customers are understanding what they want to buy, and they are planning their purchase. So they are discovering digitally and shopping physically. That is one sustained trend that one sees. And we are also seeing that the business is going up overall for each of the retailers. So they are not really slowing down their expansion. Yes, they are stabilizing because last year was a frenzy of expansion. Obviously, they need to consolidate before they replan again. And we do think people are coming in with new brands. New brands are entering. So yes, I do think that there is a case here that the expansion will still continue.
Okay, so the expansion will continue, but it's a conscious expansion, consolidation before they take the next leap. Thank you, Pushpa, as well as Mr. Rajagopalan for joining us on the show with that take as to what's happening with the retail sentiment on the ground. But on that note, slipping into a very short break, don't go anywhere.